It's not every day that I talk about both men and women, so I'm very excited for this episode. Usually I talk mainly about women. But this one is so important. My God. I'm breaking down the good boy versus the bad boy and why we're convinced that all women want the bad boy and then all the good boys are like, what the hell? Like, why? She says she doesn't want an abusive man and look at her. This like black and white language that we have going on is really fucking up the ultimate end goal desire, which is embodied masculine men. Hello, you're listening to Healing with Kink. I'm Karina, a psychotherapist, a coach, feminine embodiment guide. I blend everything I know about psychology, sexuality, kink, spirituality, and basically everything that makes us our most authentic selves. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button so you don't miss an episode. Let's play. So, speaking to women that date men. Women don't want the bad guy necessarily. What they want is a man, embodied in his masculine and his feminine. Because most nice guys aren't nice guys. They're manipulators. They're men who are being nice to get something. And they're self-abandoning what they even want because they're too busy being nice. They're too busy people-pleasing. Most nice guys are actually very disconnected from their dark masculine. And they're avoiding that like primal side of them because it all just really makes sense because of the Me Too movement. So no man wants to be overly assertive or overly type of energy. If you're looking on YouTube, like this type of energy, they're not doing that on purpose because they don't want to get Me Too'd. Men have been subdued out of their primal masculine power and cue in influx of good boys. Influx of men who are so far into their feminine that it creates a lack of polarity with women that want masculine men. And listen, I have dated the good boy. I have dated the nice guy who said all the right things. He doesn't take up space. He doesn't ask for things too much. He's kind of just there, always available to give whatever the woman needs. And that creates zero charge. There's no polarity in that. And frankly, I could not trust that man because I don't even sense that he trusts himself. I actually went on a date a few months ago where this was a thing. And I felt there was an extreme lack of polarity. Like this man was not grounded in his masculine at all. And I ended the relationship and I said like, hey, I just don't feel a polarity between us. And he really appreciated that honesty. And he said, wow, thank you for telling me that. I've actually been really disconnected from my masculinity lately and I don't really know what it is. And around you, I feel extremely nervous and I don't know what it is. And so he admitted that he knew something internally was happening for him. I actually literally sent out an email blast about this. If you're interested in the intricacies of my life, I get really honest with my audience on my email list. So you can sign up for that on my website. It'll be in the show notes. So when women say that they want a bad boy and they don't want the nice guy, what they're actually saying is that they want a man who knows his anger, who knows his ability to kill, who knows his ability, that like primal warrior aspect of them. A man who knows that and doesn't leak it and doesn't act on it. That's self-mastery. A man who owns his sexual desire, his lust, his carnal lust, his desire to procreate and just have sex. That's what a woman wants. If a man knows that and doesn't leak it and doesn't unconsciously act on it, that's sexy. And that can't be faked. I had a client, I was working with a couple that was having this exact issue where the woman didn't feel like he was masculine enough. And ultimately what we got down to was that he was scared of his dark masculine. He was scared of this primal desire. So it wasn't coming out, it was completely being stifled. And the way that it showed up in the relationship was a man that was just hyper feminine, hyper pleasing, hyper open to whatever the woman wanted and never stating his own desire and never standing up for himself. That's not sexy. Women are often looking for a man that can hold hard conversations without people pleasing. A man who doesn't outsource his power and his worthiness for approval, because he knows it deeply within himself. And by the way, being embodied in your dark masculine doesn't mean that you're completely negating your woman's desires and you're just like being this charged man who's just demanding things. Like that's very not what I'm saying. What I'm describing is a man who has the ability to be in his desire, to own that, to hold that, and not necessarily overpower or act on it. And I'm going to give an example of this. This literally happened before I had even had sex. And I was at a club. In Miami, you can club quite early. And I was talking to this guy and we had been talking for hours at this point. And he embodied the dark masculine in a way that made me feel so safe without me even having that verbiage. He was not nice boy. He was not bad boy. He was dark embodied masculine. And at one point in our conversation, without touching me, without anything, he just looks at me and he says, I really want to taste you. And I just, in that moment, it was so hot to feel his desire, to feel his carnal desire, to feel his primal nature starting to come alive and not touch me and not pull me in, not need to do anything. He just sat in it. That is the embodied dark masculine. To be able to hold that and not do anything with it, it provided me safety, because despite the fact that I was a no for that, and despite the fact that, I wasn't going to engage with him in that way at all, I still felt safe with that, and I felt arousal from it because I felt his self-mastery. I felt his own containment. Take notes, because a man who can state their desire and not take it out, but kind of just hold it, that creates polarity. That's dark masculine, and that's what women in nomenclature is bad boy. But ultimately, bad boy is just a man who is not people-pleasing, and he's not just out to please. And this is why women are more turned on by men who own their shadow than men who don't even admit that it's there. So let me give an example of a nice boy in that situation. A nice boy might be super pleasing in that interaction in the club. Maybe he's trying to taste me as well, but he's not outwardly saying it. So he's just like, hey, let me buy you drinks. And hey, can I stroke your hair? Hey, can I do all these things? And if he's just giving, the woman will start to feel like, okay, what's going on here? What is he trying to get out of me? What's actually happening, right? Two very different worlds. A bad boy ultimately has owned his power. He's owned his desire, and he knows that it's not a threat. And honestly, there's an aliveness to that. There's an aliveness to a man that has owned his power, his sexual desire, his ambition, his desire, his own lust. There's an aliveness, a current that happens in that. Whereas a nice boy, none of that has been activated. So it's kind of just like a flat line. And that doesn't do much for anyone. So essentially, a man who can say, this is my no, this is my yes, this is what I want, this is what I don't want, this is what I have capacity for, this is what I don't have capacity for, that's a man a woman can trust. Because ultimately, there's direction in that. I personally love when a man has that sense of self, because I feel like I don't have to hold more. I don't have to lead more, because he's got his own. He's got his own. And I know so many couples who fall into the trap when there's someone that doesn't hold themselves, the other one overcompensates and has to almost hold the unit together. That's a pretty abstract analogy, but if you've been in that situation, I know that you know what I'm talking about. Because the feminine opens up when the masculine is presently holding themselves, right? When she doesn't have to take care of both of them. And the feminine is just so nurturing, right? The maternal nature is so nurturing that she's going to want to hold the other person if they need it. And then she falls into this unconscious trap and then resents him later on. Seen that story. We played with this concept inside of a polarity workshop with John Wineland a few months ago. We had men and women pairing up, and the men were embodying the masculine and the women were embodying the feminine. And it was an incredible practice of really, really stepping into these poles. And John made a distinction, which was fascinating. When men lean in unconsciously, the feminine often feels quite unsafe. But when a man holds his own, the woman will naturally come forward if she feels safe and trusting and if she fucking wants to. And in this practice, I noticed that when a man, and mind you, in the practice we're breathing together, when I was paired with someone that just held themselves strong, straight, in his own energy, I felt myself wanting to lean forward. I felt myself wanting to come more alive, feel more, express more, and more erotic charge came in. Whereas when a man leaned forward in any type of capacity, I was like, whoa, what are you doing? Because it was unconscious. But when a man consciously stays and holds his own, it's a very different experience. And this specific practice that I'm describing was, we were in front of each other and we were just breathing together while looking into each other's eyes. And we were breathing into our sacral, we were breathing into our hearts, and it's a very arousing, orgasmic experience without physically touching each other. And the whole intention is to be able, or at least the way I perceived it, was holding erotic charge with someone and not needing to make it sexual. I love John Wineland's work. If you ever get a chance to experience one of his workshops, I highly recommend. So if you find yourself potentially leaning into the people pleaser energy, I want you to ask yourself these questions. Am I connected to my desire? Or am I censoring it? And if you're a woman that's listening and you're like, God damn, Karina, I've just been so frustrated with this lack of polarity because my husband just bends over backwards for me and I want to feel him more. I want to feel his primal masculine state. I want to let you know that you're responding to a lack of polarity, that your relationship is not broken, but there's an imbalance happening. Women aren't looking for a boy that behaves, they're looking for a man that is embodied. So let me know in the comments how you felt about this episode, because it's pretty abstract, this concept of embodied masculine, even the dark masculine. It's the first time I talk about this, so I'd love to know how it lands with you. If you're on YouTube, drop a comment. If you're on Spotify, drop a comment or DM me on Instagram at Healing with Kink. Thank you so much for listening. If this resonated, hit like, hit subscribe. I do this all for free because I fucking love it. Your support truly means the world. It helps grow the show. And if you're feeling generous, post it on your story and tag me. I would love to repost. If you want to go even deeper, head into the show notes, check out my free membership, my one-on-one services. The work does not need to end here. It's truly just the beginning.